Hey guys, hey, we're back. Hey, we're excited. Hopefully you guys had a great Mother's Day weekend. I know we did. We actually went out and had a little fun at Cheddar's. But anyway, if you guys get an opportunity, make sure you guys share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, our TikTok, Instagram, etc. So today we thought, well, hey, we talk on a subject that Mr. Damein actually suggested. I said, well, that's a good subject. Let's talk about it today. So we're going to talk about a subject in a relationship about fear. And so I think fear is something that we don't really talk a whole lot about. I think most people run away from it, Damein, when it comes to fear. Uh, so Damein, go ahead and, if you don't mind, I at least printed the definition of fear.
Well, fear is considered an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or a threat.
Okay, so that's the definition of fear. And I was thinking, a lot of times on fear, we can have multiple things under the category of fear. Like you could be fearful, Damein, of maybe dating people that you don't maybe think that you live up to. You're fearful from even approaching them, right?
Right. And a lot of men have that problem as far as fear of approach.
Right. And Damein, let me ask you: do you think obviously the more we do it, the better we get at it, right? But I think a lot of times we maybe. Do you think that's something that is just what do you think fear is caused from?
Well, let me just say this first. People always ask me, what's the number one life advice that I can give someone? And I tell every single person this, and that is you have to become fearless in life. You have to become fearless. You can't live life scared, timid, and afraid of things. And the news, the media, I think that our society likes to have people fearful of things, which causes people to make mistakes. So every time I'm coaching someone or talking to someone, I always tell them the number one thing that you have to live in life. The best advice I can give you out of my top three is number one is you have to become fearless, whether that's through dating, business, or any other aspect of life. You have to become fearless. You can't live your life in fear. And you have to, the things that you do fear, you have to attack those things head on.
Well, I think a lot of times, yes, Damein, I think fear is something that I think a lot of times we may get the understanding that, it's just something that we all have, right? I don't, and I'm not a believer in that, Damein. I don't believe that everyone has fear in their life. I believe that a lot of times people go through life circumstances and we get challenged, right, through scenarios of life, and then it'll either make us stronger, right,
Mm-hmm.
or we stay in that little shell of fear,
Right.
right?
Right. I think okay, there's a fine line, there's a fine balance and a fine line between being fearful and being cautious. Okay? I tell people all the time, you have to be able to take risks in life. If you're not able to take risks, you're blocking your blessings. And like I said, I don't try to turn people into angels or saints, but the Bible specifically talks about fear. And you cannot be fearful in life. I also tell people, I say, listen, there's going to be a time in your life to where circumstances will happen. If you're living your life fearful, there's going to be times in your life where circumstances will happen to where you're going to have to approach fear head on. You're going to have to be able to approach it. So my best advice for people is to learn how to live fearlessly. So that way, when some of those circumstances do come around, you're able to attack it head on. So I'll give you an example. I was talking to this guy a couple of weeks ago. And he's like, Damein, he's like, man, I'm afraid to walk up, talk to people, not just people, but women. And I just don't know. I'm just scared. I said, well, listen, man. I said, I don't think it's so much that we're scared. And we're talking about the dating and approaching women part for now.
Right.
I said, I don't think it's so much that we're scared. I said, what I think it is that you're approaching a total stranger and you're trying to start a conversation with someone you don't know from Eve. So, I say, listen, man. I say, the problem is this. I said, it's the fear of you being rejected.
Oh, that's a good point, David.
So, to overcome that fear, you're going to have to be repetitive in your approach. And you have to think like this. And this is just a confidence thing. This is not an arrogance thing. You have to think to yourself, you know what? I have a lot that I'm bringing on the table to this woman. And if she turns me down, that's on her. You have to think that way. Because if you don't think that way, she's going to be able to feel that energy, and she's going to be able to smell that. Women are real good about smelling fear as far as men. So you don't want to give off that kind of energy. You want to attack it. You want to have to approach it, attack it head on. And you get turned down. So what? It's not the end of the world. What is she going to do? Slap you? Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. A lot of times when I tell them, look, out of the 10 women that you approach,
right,
2 of them are going to be acceptable to the game that you're trying to spit at them. So, it's a numbers game. And I also teach guys, I tell them that it's timing as well. So, just because you get turned down, get rejected, doesn't mean that you're not attractive. Doesn't mean you have the proper conversational skills. It's a timing thing with women. So, you have to look at that. That woman, her dog could have just died. One of her relatives could have just died. She could have just had a bad day at work. That's why I say it's timing.
Right.
So, you don't want to live your life as far as dating is concerned. You don't want to live your life in fear. You have to be able to attack it head on. And I always give guys my 3-second rule. You see someone you like that you think is attractive, you have 3 seconds to approach them. 3. After those 3 seconds, don't even try, because you're at a level to where you're too timid, you're thinking too much, and it's not going to work out in your favor. So you got 3 seconds. You see someone, you got 3 seconds to approach her and attack it right then and there. If not, don't even try it, because you're gonna give off this bad vibe, this negative energy, and and another thing, guys, don't use pickup lines because it don't work. Just improv, spit off your dome, and try to take it from there.
Yeah, I would say, Damein, that was a good thing I was sitting here thinking was pickup lines, right? Like, I think a woman respects someone that has some intelligence, right? That has a way of communicating, and you're just not the next guy jumping up there and giving her a line that she's heard before.
Right.
Right?
And women know when you use the pickup.
Yes, right. So, and I would say that, if you're struggling with the sense of feeling confident, I think it's one of the things that you need to be able to really openly maybe have that discussion maybe with a friend of yours, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a big one on role playing, right? Mm-hmm. Because, Damein, not everyone, has somebody there. What if you grew up and, You didn't have a father in your life. You didn't have a brother in your life, right? We learn a lot of things from other male figures. And if we don't have those in our life, where are we going to get that skill from?
You're going to have to find a mentor,
right? Right. So I think taking the time and maybe saying, reaching out to somebody that you know that is a confident person, and don't be afraid to say, listen, you know, I've been trying to date, or I've been trying to work on, and just being frank, be honest with them. Be honest and say, man, I am not the most skillful, like your friend did, Damein, right? It takes some guts to go to another man if you really think about it.
It does.
And say, man, I'm not good at this. I'm not the best person on picking up someone. But, and I would say that, you know, with the aspect of fear, you know, I don't think it's just males. Females can be in a place of fear from their past relationships, right?
Right.
And say, man, the last guy that picked me up at the bowling alley, right, ran over my cat or whatever it might have been, a bad experience, right?
Right.
And so she's in a state of fear, like, oh my God, the next guy that comes, right? Or they have one thing on their mind, right? In the sense of women also know that, Damein, when you are just going for the cookies, right? You don't want to get to know her. You're just wanting to go home and have some fun.
Right.
Right?
Right. Well, if you think about it, I can't believe I'm saying this, but when you see someone and you approach them, that's the first thing that's on your mind. So, I mean, that's something that guys do. I hate to say it. I mean, we're not just there just to start a conversation, just to see, try to sing kumbaya. We're not trying to do that. So you're looking at this particular woman. You find out that she's very attractive. You want to get to know her, but at the same time, some sexual thoughts are crossing your mind. And so, it's every case, every situation is different. And what I tell guys is this. You don't want to be the kind of guy that has regrets. And what I mean by that is that, a long time ago, I would see someone that I was interested in, and I just didn't have it in me to go up and approach. And maybe 5 or 6 hours later, I was living with regrets. I was like, I should have would have approached her. You don't want to be that kind of guy. You want to attack it right then and there, because I guarantee you, if you miss that opportunity, you're going to have regrets later on. No ifs, ands, buts, but you're going to be like, oh, man, I should have. Oh, I'm no. And chances are you'll never see her again. So, I tell them, I say, look, you don't want to be the guy with regrets. I tell them also to look at it as you being a salesman trying to close a deal.
Right.
Cold approaching. You're cold approaching, when you're trying to make a sale, you're cold approaching, making calls. You're cold approaching, going up to doors, trying to get people, to buy your services. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Just because someone says no to you while you're trying to make a sale doesn't mean that you don't go on to the next person and try to make that sale. You don't just stop after that first person says, no, I'm not interested in your service. I don't want this. You don't just stop, correct? You keep going. You keep going until you later on, get that commission.
Well, and I'm going to read you guys a verse that, I want you guys to realize we are spirit beings, right? We are literally spirit beings in a body. So I'm just going to give you what the word says. In Timothy, it says, for God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. Now, he didn't give us a spirit of fear. That's why I don't believe, Damein, that everyone is at a place of being a person that is full of fear. I believe that there are people that are very confident in what they do. They know what their plan of action is. They know exactly where they're going to go in the sense of they have that confidence that's built into them. And so I think it's one of those things that they just don't always know when it comes to a person. I mean, put it this way, when it comes to a person, I think it depends on how many times they've been rejected, because that can really play on a person's mind, right?
It can.
Like, rejection is probably one of the most powerful things that at least a male goes through, in the sense of even for his ego.
Right.
Right.
Right. But I think in a lot of cases, from what I've seen and what I've gone through, I think if that particular woman, if she's got her head on straight, she has feminine energy, she's intelligent, I think there are those women that can appreciate that, because they know how hard it is for that man to come up to approach you and try to start a conversation with you. Like I said, doesn't know you from Eve. I think a lot of women can appreciate that. Now, whether they'll accept it or reject it, that's totally up to them. But I think that I know in a lot of cases that I've been involved with, a long time ago. I think women deep down in the back of their minds, they can appreciate a man with confidence that will come up and approach them. What do you think?
I would say so. I was going to ask you this, Damein. What do you think about in the aspect that of different careers? Like if you knew she was like I'm just using this for example. You're sitting in your car right, and she gets out of her car, and she's, it says medical surgeon, right? Mm-hmm. And you think, man, she's absolutely beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think the odds of men that would actually be hesitant to pull back on the basis they're like, she's out of my league?
Right. I think it's funny you brought that up. In a situation like that, it takes a very, very, very confident man to actually approach that type of woman. And I would say, if I was a betting man, I'd say 1 man out of 10 would actually approach that woman. 1. That one guy is an exception to the rule because, he has high self-esteem. He's very confident, and he believes that his net worth, his self value is up there. I would say that 1 out of 10 men will actually approach that woman nowadays, because, like I said, we live in a society to where everything's predicated upon fear. So, and she's beautiful, and she's a surgeon. And depending on what you
well, I'm just using that one.
Right, and depending on what you do for a career, I mean, that has a lot to do with it. But I always tell guys, look, who cares? I don't care what she does. Okay, I don't care what kind of money she has. I don't care anything about that. You're the man. You have to approach. If unless that woman gives you any kind of choosing signals, more than likely 1 time out of 10, you're gonna have to make the approach. It doesn't matter what she does, how beautiful she is. Look, like I said before, you don't want to live the rest of that night or the next couple of days telling yourself, "Oh my God, I may have missed out on an opportunity because fear overtook you."
Yeah, and I think that's, yes, I would say, now personally for me, I think you're about right, Damein. It'd be about 1 out of every 10 men, right, that actually would say, hey, but I think a lot of that is because of society.
Yeah.
Society says there is no way that you're going to be able to have a possible chance with a surgeon because you work at 7-Eleven, right? And so I think, I just think it's interesting that where did we get to the point that we base what a person could bring to the table in a relationship based off of one thing, career. Not are they a nice guy, or could they be a provider, could they be a good husband, could they be, a good family man. We base it off of one thing, that person's occupation.
Right.
I think it's crazy that society, that we came to that, and then, you got to be careful out there too. If you're out, the first thing they ask you, what you do for a living. Right?
Right. And I think that's because the society that we're living in today is, of course, I tell anyone, everything's based on finance. You have the media aspect, you have you have athletes, you have entertainers, and we see these people on TV every day.
Right.
And so, in a lot of cases, these people have a really good steady cash flow. So, a lot of people want to be like these people, but they can't. And so what they see as far as, they see that most people are drawn to those individuals.
Right.
So which in turn tells that person, hey, you know what, unless I'm an athlete, unless I'm a musician, unless I'm an entertainer, I can't compete with that person. I'll tell you this right now, as far as a profession, as far as like CEOs, things like that. Of course, there's a different scale, different balance when it comes to that. But as society, we put so much value on entertainers, musicians, athletes, to where everyone thinks that that's what we have to become.
Right.
So, and not everybody's going to be that. Not everybody's going to become that way.
No.
So it's the way the world is, man. And like I said, I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. Like I was telling you probably a few days ago, I was telling you I don't watch the news because everything's predicated upon fear. So in a lot of stories I didn't even know were going on unless it comes across my computer. Oh, this story says such. I don't watch stuff like that because I think as people, we get too involved in that mess. It's just a bunch of BS, So, a person doesn't want to look at the average Joe and say, hey, well, this guy has a good career, he's making decent money, this and that, this, that. I think society, the way America is, Western civilization, we put too much value on those individuals. Like I said, musicians, entertainers, and athletes, because that's what we always see on TV. We put too much value on people like that. So, and like I said, reality is not everybody's going to become that way. So, it's really per individual basis, but I say that the average person thinks that way. Because we all want to be entertainers, athletes, we all want to be that because those seem like the people that everybody is attracted to. Okay, so with that, that makes the average person, that gives them low self-esteem, and that gives them a lot of fear because they're not that individual. So a lot of that comes into play with what we see on TV and what they teach over here in Western civilization. So I mean, you have to deal with it, the best way that you can. So.
Well, I think I think it's interesting because I was thinking, in this, my wife and I were talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have people that will date, and because of what their family may think, right? Listen, that's still a fear.
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
My, you know, they may not accept him into the family
Mm-hmm.
because he's works at 7-Eleven.
Right.
They care less if he could be a good husband or provider. He treats her well, right?
Right.
They're looking at one thing, the career. So that person that's dating has to really weigh that out and say, man, if I date this person, are they going to? Now, for me, this is just me. This is just me.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you are going to date a person and you really, really, really know that this is the one and you really care for them and vice versa, you got to come to a point. Now, this is where this is a lot of people are not going to like the answer here, Daniel. But the Bible says you leave your mother and father, right?
Right.
You cleave to your wife. Now that's the word. That's what the word says. So some of you guys out there, you got to come to a point. Listen, would you leave if everything came down to it? Could you leave and lose your relationships with your brothers, sisters, mom, and dad over a relationship? Not everyone could, David.
Yeah, not every family is going to be accepting of that person, depending on their career and so forth. So yeah, not everybody could.
I mean, I can tell you that without concrete doubt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't come here with like $1 billion, right? When I came here for my wife, all I had was a backpack. I mean, you think about what they had to be thinking.
Right.
This guy has to be very crazy, right?
Right.
There's absolutely no way, right?
And truth be told, that woman has to, she's got to be fearless as well, because if family doesn't really care about you and she does, then she's got her family talking in their ear about you. I mean, she's gonna have to get rid of her fears with her family members.
That's a good point, Damien.
Yeah. So that can go a long way with the person.
Yeah,
because family is always in our ear.
Yeah, always in our ears, and I'm always baffled, blown away on how many people basically say, okay, well, they come to a place where they're like, it's my family or him.
Yeah. And that's an unfortunate situation.
Right?
That's an unfortunate situation. So, like I said, sometimes you have to give up something. So, I mean, if you really care for that person and you see that person as the one, you're going to have to give it up. It doesn't matter what family thinks. I could care less what my family thinks. I could care what anybody thinks.
Right.
But that's come with years of experience. So, because I understand fear and how it works, which brings me to this point. I read this book. Of course, now in my book, The Game Advice Dawn of the Prodigy, which you guys should already have, I have a chapter on there talking about living without fear. But before that, I read this book. It's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is the author that wrote Think and Grow Rich. Let me just give you a brief upon this book real quick. Outwitting the Devil is a book based on Napoleon Hill actually interviewing the devil, having a conversation with him. Basically, what the devil tells Napoleon Hill throughout their hours-long conversation is that he uses fear to corrupt and to change people in the world, to make people to not live a prosperous and happy life. He uses fear
Right.
He uses fear. And you know, this is what, and I always have to go back to this whenever, you know, because I'm human, you know, sometimes I'm kind of like, I'm doubting this, but you know, I snap out of it. But this is what he said this in the premise of his book. He said, you know, fear is the tool of a man-made devil. Self-confident faith in oneself is both the man-made weapon which defeats this devil and the man-made tool which builds a triumph life. And it is more than that. It is a link to the irresistible forces of the universe which stand behind a man who does not believe in failure and defeat as being anything but temporary experiences.
Mm.
So
yeah, that's a good point, Damein.
Right.
You know, I like that last point that he made on the very end. Temporary.
Right.
Right? We control how long we hold on to fear. Right? Listen, everyone that you are listening to, listen. You have the choice if fear rules you or you rule over the fear. And I think that a lot of times, you know, I was using that example, David, with, you know, the in-laws and coming down to a decision. Because, you know, it's massively, I think when it comes to dating, there are just so many things that hold a lot of people. You know, you will have people that may run into a nice guy and they tell themselves, I'm not deserving of that guy.
Right. That's that little voice in their head.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, here's the thing. You have to be able to identify your fears. First, I always say, write them down. Write down your fears.
Yeah.
Identify them. Once you write them down, attack them. There's only one way to overcome fear, and I tell people this: you have to attack them. Or, like I said, some circumstances are going to happen in your life, whether they're good or bad, to where it's going to force you to attack it right then, right there. And in a lot of cases, I would say if people, you know, don't write down their fears and they can't just, you know, attack their fears, when circumstances happen and you're having to attack it right then and there, I think that's the best teacher. Like I said, whether it's positive or negative. But if something happens to where you're right there in front of it and you can either bend or you can be straight. You're going to have to attack it right there. I think that's the best way that a person can attack their fears. And you know, I wouldn't suggest going that route because, I mean, things happen to all of us. I would say write down your list of fears and just attack them head on. But if a circumstance happens where you have to attack it, I really, truly think if you can't get over that fear, that's the best way for you to get rid of fears. Like, for example, I don't like heights. I'm scared of heights. Scared of heights. Now, if I go to Six Flags or something like that, I go with some friends, you know, and I see that they're all getting on the Texas Giant, and I'm the only one just standing there, you know, letting do. I'm not gonna do that. I mean, my heart will be rushing. I'm like, you know what? I'm not. My friends, I'm gonna get on.
Right.
That's attacking fear right then and there. You know, because like I said, I don't like heights. I'm scared of them. That's probably the only thing I would say that I fear. But whenever I face it, I attack it right then and there. And that's an example of the circumstance happening to where I have to attack it right then and there. Because I don't want my friends laughing at me and, oh, you're scared. Yeah, I don't want that. I'm going to be the only one sitting back in the line while they all get on the roller coaster ride. No, I'm not going to let that happen. So I attack it right then. And then here's the cool thing about it. After it's over, you're like, I did it.
Right. You conquered it.
I conquered it.
Right.
And then you want to do it over again.
Yeah.
So once you attack it, you identify it, you attack it, that should be smooth sailing after that. Because Number one problem is people not attacking their fears. They're just letting their fears just stay out there in the open, and they're just looking at them like, oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna face this. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Nope, nope, nope. You need to attack it right then. That's the only way you're gonna get better. It's the only way.
Well, Dave, I mean, you might be speaking into existence. I mean, you might be next date, might be the prettiest girl in the world, right? And she's like, Damein, let's go to Six Flags, right? I mean, it might.
Yeah, yeah. You know, so.
And then you're going to be able to come back and say, guys, I conquered the roller coaster.
Right, but I won't get on Superman.
Yeah.
I won't get on that.
Yeah.
So you can get that. I will not. Something that's up and down, up drops you. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And I don't drink. So I'll have to take some shots before I even the Superman ride. I won't do it.
Yeah, now, so if someone was going to ask me, I mean, you know, Bear, how did you conquer all your fears, right? Like, I would honestly say that, guys, you know, I like Damein's idea to write them down, right? And then go a step further and pray and ask the Lord to help you to overcome the fear.
Very important.
Right? And I'm going to read a verse out Elijah. It says, fear not, I am with you. Be not dismayed. Right? So he's telling you, listen, no matter what takes occurrence in your life, don't be moved by it. Don't be moved by what you see or what you hear. Don't be dismayed. Right? And he says, I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Now, I'm only saying that, guys, because in my life, Damein, I had a lot of fears. Like, you know, I'll be just very transparent. One of the biggest fears I had, Damein, because I'm like, who's going to want to be with me, right? I mean, I have a history book, like, miles long, right? I'm talking multiple relationships. I'd been in jail, right? And our history, our past, right? I think the enemy a lot of times likes to throw up our past and say, oh, man, you've done too much for you to even have any chance of any woman that wants to take you, right?
Yeah, that, that's unfortunate, and I think, there's whether it's a voice of a demon, devil, whatever, that's telling you that, okay, this can't happen because of this, okay? And I'm a spiritual person, and like I said, I don't try to turn people into angels and saints, but I know that if I'm having self-doubt about something and I'm becoming fearful right then and there, that's just the enemy trying to get over me. And I have to shake it off and attack it right then and there. I know better.
Right.
I know that that's not me, but that's something in my head that's trying to prevent me from getting better opportunities.
That's a good point.
For, whether it's dating, business, that's not me. That's that little voice in my head telling me, hey, you can't do this. This is, no, that's not me. So right then, I catch on it right then and there, and I snap out of it. So, but like I said, it attacks me as well. I just know the repercussions of not being fearless. And the biggest thing is missing out on opportunities. That's the biggest thing when it comes to a person being fearful. Missing out on opportunities to where later on they'll have regrets, and then they're kicking themselves in the butt with, I wish I had it. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be a person saying, I wish I had it. I've seen so many opportunities lost, not just with myself, but with other people, because they did not attack fear head on.
That's a very good point. And I think one thing, regrets stay with you for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, regrets just don't, it could be something as starting a business. It could be as something as writing a book. It could be as something as this year uh, I'm going to purchase a house, right? I mean, I'm using those for example, Damein, because someone could say, well, with inflation, there's no way I'm buying a house right now. I'm fearful what the market could do, so I'm just going to stay where I'm at.
Right.
Right? So I think, we got to look at but that's where I believe we have to have wisdom and talk to people who have dealt with those challenges. Right? I mean, it doesn't say, well, don't buy a house because the market could flip, but you got to also use some wisdom and know that, listen, if you really want to buy a house right now, you need to talk to as many people as you can and say, what's your perspective of what could happen, and what do you think? Instead of just saying well, I'm not going to do anything because I'm fearful for the market. I'm just using that for example.
That just made me think about something. Whenever, if I'm talking to someone or I'm trying to coach someone, when I'm coaching guys, I tell them this. And remember, this is not just dating, this is business as well. I tell guys this. Go on YouTube or whatever it is and study the male lions in a lion pride. Study the male lions for about 2 weeks. Come back to me and tell me what you think about the male lion.
All right, so hold on. So everybody, listen. That's your homework excitement. For you guys that listen, go out and get on YouTube, look at the male lion.
Right, and not even just the male lion, but the female and the male lion.
Yeah. So that's your guys' homework assignment, but not to cut you off, David.
Right. You listen. It's kind of like we have to approach life as, and this is for women as well. But I tell men, I say, listen, man, you're gonna have to approach life as if you're a male lion. The lions aren't. They're considered the kings of the jungle, but they're not the strongest. They're not. They can be killed by rhinoceroses, hippos.
Hippo, man, I love that hippo.
Right, but you know what? I haven't seen a lion run away from anything, because they know that their success in defeating their families depends on them not being fearful. The female lion has cubs. What is it going to look like if the female lion has 5 or 6 cubs, right?
Right.
And she's afraid to go and attack that impala to feed her babies, but she's scared.
Right.
You won't see that.
Right.
You won't see that because they know that they don't have time to be fearful. They have to feed those cubs. And the male lion doesn't do the hunting. They don't do the hunting. But the females in that pride also respect the male lion because they know he's the strongest and they know that he is not fearful of anything. So I always tell guys, you have to take that kind of approach to life, as what I said, women too, as a male and female lion, because really, if you think about it, they have it right. They have it right as far as approaching without fear, and you usually have to treat life like that because, like I said, society makes money off of people being scared and afraid. Society makes money off of people making mistakes. That's why we have prisons that are filled. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
It's everything's predicated upon fear. Lock your doors because somebody's gonna break in your house, and all of that.
I mean,
not saying that you shouldn't be cautious,
right?
but you shouldn't just be living to where you're just scared. You're just scared in your bones. Scared. I mean, you need to approach life with a sense of urgency and risk. If you want to be successful, I'm telling you, it's not going to happen unless you approach life that way. It's not going to happen. It's not. Because what's going to happen is you're going to miss opportunities. Opportunities are going to present themselves in front of you since you were scared to attack it head on.
Right.
You're never going to get that opportunity again.
Right. Wow, look at all the people wearing a mask still. Right?
Oh, man.
I mean, look, guys, I want you to stop and think about something for a second. You still have people that put their mask on. Now, the CDC has already said, hey, man, you can throw those things in the trash. Right? Wait, what are people doing?
Yeah.
It's programming.
Yeah.
Listen, that's what fear does. It programs the mind to believe something
that's not going to happen.
Yes, right.
It's not.
Right.
It's not going to happen. They consider that, you know what they call that? They call that insanity. You being fearful of something that more than likely isn't going to happen. That's the same thing as being insane. So, yeah. It's not going to happen.
And guys, listen. I think more than anything, it's getting to a place and understanding that it's all fear. It's in your hands. Either you're going to overcome it or you're going to allow it to eat you up. And I think, like Damein, you got to be like a lion. Why didn't you use a bear?
Yeah, bears too. Well, I'm a huge fan of lions.
I'm just saying. I mean, this is a bear.
Yeah, bears too, right?
But at the end of the day, guys, listen, you got to be like a lion out there. And then once you step into it, and it gets easier, I think, Damein. Mm-hmm. Once you make that list and you start checking those fears off, number one, I think it's going to lift your anxiety, stress by a massive amount if you would just overcome those fears.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and like I said, it's just as bad in dating. People are scared. I was having this probably about 4 or 5 days ago. I was having this conversation with a lady friend of mine. Yeah, she's just a friend. She was telling me that she's afraid to date now because the last couple of people that she's dated, it seems like they were using her. This is what I told her. I said, listen. I said, life is about, and I wasn't sugarcoating it to her. I was just straight up. I said, listen. I said, life is about risk. I said, and I use this, RIP Kevin Samuels, but what he said makes a lot of sense. He says, making someone in your present pay for things in your past equals no future. So I was telling her, I said, listen, just because that happened doesn't mean you need to be scared to date or see someone else because your past relationships, they used you. I said, you're going to have to put on some big girl panties. I said, because relationships are risks. They are. You get screwed over, okay, it happens. It happens. Doesn't mean that the next person is going to do that way, or you need to come at the other person with negative energy and being fearful that that person is going to do you the same way. It's not going to work.
Right.
It's not going to work. I mean, look, shit happens.
Right.
So you are going to attack that fear. And if you don't attack it and you're scared to date other people, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And unfortunately, we live in a society where there's a lot of people that don't have any integrity people are full of character flaws.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
There's a lot of people full of shit. But unfortunately, that's the way that it is. But you cannot let that hold you back. Or, what did I say earlier? You're going to miss an opportunity.
Yeah, I think, I would say this is that. Now, I will say this. Now, you do want to make sure you don't do the same mistake again. In the sense of, if you have that bad experience, like Damein was saying, yes, it's a risk. But you also want to be wise enough to make sure that you don't end up with another guy like that or another woman like that, right?
Right.
Because we tend to be creatures of habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm just saying this, Damein, from my experience. You have women out there that, they may be 20, 24, and they want to be with someone who's 46.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, that's a red flag right there. Something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Or vice versa. You got the cougar out there.
Right.
Right? I'm not talking about the cougar in the woods. Right?
He's talking about the milk.
Right. So, you at the same time you want to be wise enough to not make the same mistakes and look for the warning signs, right? I think a lot of times we miss a lot of warning signs when it comes to dating. We just do, Damein.
Yeah, we ignore red flags.
A lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe the worst thing we can do in dating is to avoid the red flags because we want to be with somebody. And a lot of people out there, they rather be with someone miserable than be alone.
Right.
That's dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Like Damein said, you'll be on that show 48 hours if you're not careful.
Yeah, you'll be on, the first 48.
Yes,
And guys, I'm going to tell you something. We talked about this with love. When you get into a relationship, and like I said, it's a risk. Can't be fearful once you get involved. You fall in love, and something happens. She leaves you, and you're just flat over and heels in love with her. Yeah, you could end up getting on the first 48, but it's like I said, life is all about risk, and just because a person treated you this way doesn't mean the next person's going to do that. You're just going to have to take that risk in finding out.
Right.
Plain and simple. So, you can't go into dating scared. You can't. Because of your past relation, you can't do it. Because, like I said, that person is going to feel your negative vibe. And it's going to rub off on her, and she's going to be like, so you have to go into it confident, with a high level of self-esteem and charisma. Fear should not exist in dating.
Right. You gotta be like a
be
rock.
Cautious, right? Be cautious. Now, if this woman has a habit of, using bull whips and shit like that. I mean, you might want to reconsider. But dating, you're going to have to be fearless. And that's what every day of life, you have to be that way. You're going to have to, because, like I said, everything is about taking risks.
But I would say this too, is that now make sure you guys really understand that reality TV, or what we see, is not the problem I have with reality TV, Damein, is they don't deal with moving in together, paying the bills together, real life issues.
Mm-hmm.
Their spiritual beliefs,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't deal with, hey, I got 2 kids. Mm-hmm. Reality TV paints this picture that you see, oh, they're on an island and they're breaking coconuts, right?
Right.
kicking back some Montinas, right?
Right.
And that's fine. I mean, that's the honeymoon. But you gotta realize and these are the things you need to know when you're dating. That listen, you need to really find out and ask those tough questions.
Right.
Because you definitely don't want to be in a situation that you're like, man, I just lost 6 years of dating this person. Right? But before I forget, guys, listen, I want to make sure that we give a shout out to our sponsor, the Social Butterfly. Listen, we had a good time this weekend. We went to Chili's. Guys, listen, we had a great time. We went and actually got an opportunity to take some pictures. And so if you guys get a chance, go onto our web or go onto Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or all of our social media platforms, you'll be able to see what we did over the weekend. We had a great time. But make sure you guys reach out to the Social Butterfly. I put the link down below so you can actually reach her. And if you are struggling on how to get a brand off the ground, or maybe you just started a business, or maybe it's a small restaurant, and you actually would like to have her get your name and your business branding off the ground, reach out to the Social Butterfly. And then before we forget, let's make sure that we give a moment to Damein here in his book. And I'm going to put his link right here, guys. I want to make sure that you guys listen. If you guys look, Damein, that price right there, that's a couple cheeseburgers.
Right.
That is a couple of cheeseburgers at McDonald's. You got 3 kids, you're way past that, right? So make sure you guys take the time and get his book, The Game Advice. We're actually going to dive into that book about fatherhood, fatherless homes, and what we're facing today. We were having a long discussion over that. Damein and I was today. So I'm looking forward to diving into the book. But Damein, if you want to take just a few minutes, tell us about your book.
Yeah.
For those who don't know who you are.
Right. I'm an author. I wrote The Game Advice 2 to 3 years ago. I do a lot of reading. I wrote it because I felt that there were a lot of things that, authors, as far as self-help authors, weren't including in their books. Well, I think the fact they were including it, but they didn't discuss how to attack some of those issues head on. So I wrote it. I shelved it because I was beginning to work on my new book, which is what I'm working on now. But then I said, well, I can't put out the new book that I'm working on right now because I have to go to the beginning and give the introduction as far as the game advice. So I put the game advice out, The Dawn of the Prodigy. It's a good book. It's for men, but can also be read by women. The first half of the book, I talk about masculine frame, dealing with, different characteristics as far as your integrity, character, charisma, and things of that nature. Also living without fear. The second part of the book, I talk about lifestyle. Lifestyle meaning dating, online dating, marriage, and things of that nature. So it's a great read. I'm working on the volume 2 to that book right now. I should have it done by next month, volume 2 done, but we'll see what happens with it. So I'm going to have to cover a lot more material in this particular new book that I didn't in the first one. So it's gonna be a banger, man. It's gonna be this book's gonna be phenomenal. And I've been telling people, I think this book will probably be the best one I'll ever write. And the reason why I say that is because of when I wrote the game advice, since I wrote the game advice, things in the world has changed drastically. I tell people things, the world changes every 5 years. So with this one, I have a lot more information in it as far as the new age dating, the new age character, and how you need to really, really, really become a quote unquote high valued man. This one's gonna be a great book. I'm gonna go into some more of my life stories and what I've had to deal with as far as my journey. So, but this one's gonna be real good. It's called Submission from Submission and Affliction. So, Return of the Game Advice. It's gonna be an excellent book, and like I said, I'm gonna tell some stories in this book that's really gonna make people think. So I like to catch people. When I wrote the game advice, I wanted to not bore my audience when I was writing the book. I like to hit them right then and there. And that's what I was shooting for when I wrote the game advice. So, but, it's going to be a great read. But the game advice, everyone likes this book. So, I'm going to have to exceed this book or match it. But I think this book that I'm writing now, Volume 2, I think that it's going to be probably the best book that I'll ever write. So,
all right, guys, listen. I particularly love the book, mainly because I'm a big supporter for fathers in the home. I just am. I believe the world is the way it is because we have fatherless homes, fathers, and homes without fathers, and this was why I particularly picked up this book, because I believe we have to get back to the state of having fathers in the home. And Damien's right. A lot has changed. A lot changes in 5 years, 20 years, right? For example, where's it at? Denny's, Damien,
mm-hmm.
Right? Denny's has a little robot now that comes out and gives you your food.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, at Denny's.
Mm.
So I told my wife, I won't be surprised in another 10, I would say another 10, 15 years, you won't have waiter. You'll have a robot saying, welcome.
So does the robot take your order? Or it just brings out the food?
I think it just brings the food out right now. Okay. But that's coming. Believe me, it's coming. Mm-hmm. So, this is why I believe we have to get back to the state of really raising up this generation and understanding. Don't count on the fast food joint to be there in 10 or 20 years. You probably need to really get yourself into a trade school, get yourself into something that is going to be, electrician, maybe fiber optics, IT, right? Some special field. Because I'm not a believer that everybody should go to college.
Right.
First of all, I don't believe everyone has I'm not putting dead people down, Damien.
Right.
I just don't believe everybody's college material.
Right. I agree.
Right?
I agree. Not everybody's college material. And funny you said that, because I think that's what, what's his name? That's what Booker T. Washington said. He said that not everybody's college material. There needs to be carpenters. There needs to be, mechanics, things like that, because that balances out society as a whole.
Yeah.
Not, there are people that find a trade, don't necessarily have the college education, but they have those trade skills and they make good money from that. But you're good at their hands and doing those trade skills to where they don't have to go to college. So, it balances out. You have those people that go to college, you have those people that don't, just go to trade school. What that does is that balances society out. So yes, you're absolutely right. Not everybody is college material. So,
And ladies, that doesn't make that man any less of a man.
Right.
Let me help you guys out with that. Because I think society says, oh, he's a mechanic. He's a carpenter. Right? And I use this for example. I bet if you met him and he said you were a carpenter, he was a carpenter, you would probably turn your nose up at him and walk away. But what if that carpenter actually owned the company and made $2.4 million?
Right. He doesn't even have a college education.
Right. So there are people out there that don't necessarily have a college education, and they're making very good money. Right? Or they are entrepreneurs and they've built their brand, they've built their company into something great. So I'm saying that, Damein, because I think a lot of times society says, hey, we just automatically judge by what they may do as a profession.
Right.
Without knowing the whole picture. Right? I mean, I know painting companies that make $8-9 million a year.
Right.
Not bad for a paintbrush. Right? So, but anyway, guys, I just pray that you guys enjoyed, got something out of today's broadcast, and make sure again you follow us on all of our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Please listen. I need you guys to do this for me. It's a big bear favor, and for Damein too. Listen, I need you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this broadcast as much as you can. Make sure you guys take the time to do that, because we want to be just not on here talking. I mean, I love seeing Damein and all. Right? But I want you guys to know that, listen, we want to be a voice to men, to families. We want to be a voice to those that are dating, to give them hope and give them some wisdom so that they can go out and they can find that special someone and overconquer their fears. Like Damein was saying, like a lion, you have to attack it like a lion. I think that was the best thing that we've got out of this, is that you have to be able to write those down. I like that a lot, Damein. I think a lot of times we don't even realize we had that many fears. But when we write them down, I think we both see, wow, I'm afraid of everything.
Right.
So anyway, guys, that's all for today's broadcast. Make sure you share, subscribe. And again, thank you guys for joining. Please visit the Social Butterfly. And if you guys, again, please reach out to my page on my, either inbox me if you are interested in counseling, or you guys want the coaching, or if you guys are just wanting to tell me maybe a dating story that you guys have, and or you can also reach Damein as well. Damein, when could they reach you if they would be interested in some coaching?
Right. You can reach me through messaging through Dating with the Bear, or you can email me DamienWilliams24@gmail.com. So if it's a lot easier just to message me through Dating with the Bear, then you can do that. But my email is DamienWilliams24@gmail.com.
And if you guys end up, again, I just thank you guys again for jumping on the broadcast. And we will see you on, let's see, today is Monday, Damein.
See you Wednesday.
So we will see you Wednesday. And I know we were going to get into the book today, but I thought this was a very good subject to talk about.
Right. Well, we got into a little bit of the book because my chapter, Living Without Fear, we pretty much broke it down. So. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna Now, I'm probably going to bear into it, right? So we're excited, guys, and we'll see you guys sometime next week.